We have a pleasure to have the Deputy Director General of the Humanitarian arm of the EU, that is ECHO, and the Deputy Director General, Michael Koehler, here for a 3-day visit in Juba. So we had meetings with government interlocutors and other stakeholders on Monday. We had a field visit yesterday to Bentiu to witnessing the situation. And then today we had further meetings with stakeholders, our implementation partners, the wider humanitarian community, and indeed, and then also Deputy Director Koehler has, Deputy Director General Koehler has also some good news for South Sudan in the region coming from Brussels. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to him. Please,
Thank you, Ambassador, and also apologies from my side for making you wait. I come from a country where being late for a meeting is considered a major sin. So I really feel like a sinner now. I apologize for having you wait. Yes, the Vice President, of course, is our reason for the delay, but it was, I think, worthwhile to have this very important meeting. For me, this is the first time I come to South Sudan, and therefore and also a couple of weeks before the rainy season, which will lead to more floods and hardship for parts of the population that is affected by those floods, as we could see yesterday in Unity State. I hope that you have seen, and with Francis' help, this press release, which came out 2 days ago in Brussels, but should of course also be relayed here in Juba. The European Union has just made 331 million euros, that's about $350 million US dollars, available for our work in the Greater Horn of Africa region. That means some of your neighboring states, and in particular South Sudan. And obviously, as you will see in this report, or in this press statement, the Republic of South Sudan will receive perhaps what I could call the lion's share, the most important part of this amount, 82 million euros in grant money. So we're speaking about a donation, we're not speaking about loans, we're speaking about grant money for humanitarian purposes. This is not the entire European allocation for South Sudan, because obviously we also have development aid in quite sizable numbers. But these 82 million for this year alone is our humanitarian aid contribution, and it makes the European Union the second most important humanitarian partner and actor in the country. And that means, in other words, that whenever you see a project here, whenever you see a United Nations agency acting, like the World Food Programme, for example, you can be sure that there's a lot of European money in what they are doing. And the same thing is true for organizations such as Oxfam, Save the Children, Welthungerhilfe, and other major NGOs. We do this because we see the needs of the people when it comes to food, but also when it comes to the consequences of many years of war and of insecurity, as we could witness yesterday when we were in the Bentiu area and spoke in a number of IDP camps with people who are forcibly displaced, some of them for 10 years already, since independence or the war for independence, some more recently for the past 2 years because of the floods of the Nile. And when you go there to the north, it is impressive to see, even now in the dry season, how present the water is and how difficult it is for people to make a living there, especially when there were cattle growing in the past, when there were herders, or when there are farmers and simply the land has gone, is underwater right now, where they used to live and where they used to ensure the future of their children. So we are very much aware of the humanitarian needs in the country. We're very much aware that food needs to be provided, that health needs to be provided, that people who are forcibly displaced need to be protected, that women are suffering a lot from gender-based violence, and we need to do whatever we can to help them. That there are also people who have disabilities. Not everybody is a strong young man. There are many people who are suffering from sicknesses and need to have specific protection and specific help. Like other international partners, the European Union want to stand by the population and want to continue helping them. Therefore, our financial amount this year is comparable to the financial amount that we made available last year. So we're not diminishing. And that is an important message that I bring you, because, as you know, we have big problems in Europe as well. We have problems on our continent with the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. We have 17 million Ukrainians, fellow Europeans, who need humanitarian aid, and we help them, but we do this without forgetting our responsibility and our responsibility for Africans. And therefore, it is important to note that whereas we have big challenges close to home, here in South Sudan, we are continuing in the same way we have been working in the past, and we are not reducing our engagement financially or politically only because we have problems in Europe. So this is a very, very important message. What we need in Sudan, in the south of Sudan, is we need to have the best possible conditions to help the people. What does that mean? First, we need to have security, not only for the people of South Sudan, but also for the aid organizations and the aid workers. And that's something I discussed with His Excellencies the Vice President, but also the Ministers of Humanitarian Affairs and the Foreign Minister, because unfortunately we see that more and more often aid workers are being attacked. South Sudanese just as much as international expatriate aid workers. We see more checkpoints, we see more attacks against aid convoys, and that is very difficult to accept, because these people are here to help the most vulnerable. And if those who help are being attacked, frankly, this is difficult to explain, and it is difficult then to maintain the aid effort if these things happen. So security is absolutely important for the people of South Sudan, but also for your friends that try to help you. Secondly, we need to be smarter than in the past to use the different forms of aid that we have. We have humanitarian aid, we have development aid, like, for example, building of roads, building of dams and dikes, provision of jobs, job creation, improvement of agricultural production. And we, of course, also have peace-building aid, where we try to help through mediation, through ensuring security, through helping with the elections process, that both locally but also at state and at national level, peace processes and participation through elections are being implemented and supported. So all these things need to be thought together, and they need to be planned together. And they need to be planned in such a way that we serve the people. Therefore, it was important to me throughout this visit, in particular yesterday in Unity State, to speak with the beneficiaries, to speak with the people who are forcibly displaced. We took a lot of time to speak to women in the camps, and also to speak to community leaders, to hear what they want to do, what their plans are. Do they want to stay where they are in the camp? Do they want to go home? Do they want to go to other countries and other places? How can we help them? How do they see the future of their children? And one of the problems that I have perceived is that very often they do not know. And they do not know for a number of reasons that are beyond their control. They do not know because they need peace, but they don't know whether there will be peace. Or they do not know because they do not know whether they can go back to where they came from because of a lack of security. But sometimes also because they think, well, in the rainy season there will be more water, and maybe the land where we could go to will be flooded again. So I think what the government has to do, and what its international partners such as the European Union need to do, is to provide as much certainty to the people so that they know on which basis they can build their own future. That makes it easier for them to build a future for their families, but it also makes it easier for us to help them. And therefore, we want to support the government in making peace prevail, having inclusive processes such as the elections without creating new sources of conflict, and sitting together with us and with the international partners to reflect and decide on how we can best support the population. Without peace and security, this will be very difficult, and therefore I would like to use this opportunity to appeal to all that you should listen, please, to the words of His Holiness the Pope, who was here some weeks ago, and I think who made a vibrant appeal for the end of violence and for a peaceful future of the nation. If that is the case, then it makes it much easier for us, the international partners, to help people to ensure their own future, and that is what we want to do, and therefore I've come here. So that is the purpose of my visit. I go back with many new impressions that come from having talked to South Sudanese citizens, but also to many representatives of donor organizations and of implementing partners. We will have to reflect on how we can improve our assistance here in this country. But one thing should be beyond any doubt, that is that the European Union, Europe, stands by the people of South Sudan, politically, morally, but definitely also financially, and this is going to continue. Thank you very much.
Now, any questions from you? You have to begin by introducing yourself and the media house.
Yes, my name is Sani Martin